and the CC button is at the bottom. That is what the closed caption button looks like. Public chat is disabled until the end. Please use the Q&A button or raise your hand to ask questions. Your host today, I am Denise Adams. I am with Greater Grand Rapids chapter. We have Liz Kobylak with Michigan State Association and Gerid Adams from Greater Grand Rapids chapter. Gerid will be in the background answering any technical questions. Today, our closed captioning comes from Annette with Q&A captioning, and they actually do a lot more than just meetings. They do classes, conventions, graduations, and so much more. If you or somebody you know could use closed captioning for one of your events, feel free to either reach out to us for her information or the information on the slide there. So everyone will be muted and no video will be on except for the panelists. When you wish to contribute to discussion, please raise your hand virtually. The raise hand icon is either located at the bottom of your screen or in the participants list towards the bottom. If you raise your hand to ask a question, you will be given permission to unmute and display your video during the question in order of the hands raised, at which time you may also have some short follow-up questions for further clarification to your question. Asking a question via chat. You can ask your questions in Q&A section. If you find the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen when you move your mouse around, at this time mine is at the top and this is what the Q&A looks like. Q&A will be answered to the best of our abilities. If you want to be anonymous, please be sure to check anonymous. Nobody will be able to see your questions at the time. Please use CART on the screen to reduce misunderstandings and repeated statements. If you answer a question, this is to the panelists mostly, please repeat the question and possibly rephrase for better understanding before answering, so everyone on the Zoom understands the question. And again, questions can be asked using the Q&A box or by raising your hand virtually. We cannot see your video, so if you physically raise your hand, we will not be able to see it. Go ahead and move your mouse or tap your screen to see the toolbar along the bottom. On the Zoom version, raise hand icon is in the participant list. The mission of HLAA is to open the world of communication to people with hearing loss by providing information, education, support, and advocacy. At this time, I'd like to thank Caption Call for sponsoring our CART services today. And they also are a great sponsor for many of our other events nationally. HLAA Greater Grand Rapids volunteers. We have the planning committee of Gerid Adams, who's the president. Myself, Denise Adams, the vice president and secretary. We also have a demo center committee, which is Robert Page. And we also have a professional advisory committee, David Myers, who's working on our Loop advocate, Steve Hawks for marketing, Ken Murphy for activities director, and our awesome volunteer, Carol, who is from Pause with a Cause. She works with outreach meetings. And volunteers are needed locally. We need your help. We need your bodies, brains, donations, and networking. If you have a few or a lot of hours, feel free each month and look for a way to help volunteer to help with the hearing loss community. There is something for everybody, no matter how big or small you're able to help. We also need volunteers at a state level. Hearing Loss Association of America, Michigan State Association is currently seeking a Board of Trustees member. We also wanted to inform you of the free face shields, actually, that are available to distribute. These, we recommend that they are used with a mask, and when needing to lip read, somebody needs to lip read, you pull down your mask, and this is another safety barrier. Hearing Loss Association of America, Michigan State Association has received this generous donation. And be sure to save the date for June 13th. The Walk for Hearing is going to be even bigger. They've combined 3 states, Michigan, Milwaukee, and Nashville, for June 13th. It's going to be a weekend long. So Saturday, June 12th will be the Bay Area and Long Beach. So again, I apologize for the typo on the slide. The date has changed to June 13th, not March 23rd. So June 13th is when, June 13th is when we have the slide. March 23rd is when we have the HLAA webinar. So that is coming up at 2 p.m. And that may be an event that interests you, and it is open. So please feel free to look into that. And we will also have that listed on our Facebook page for more information. And if you are interested in the walk for June 13th, which is virtual, you can also create your own team or join our team here at Grand Rapids Goonies. We will also be posting this information on our Facebook page and emailing it as well. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us on either forms. And we would like to introduce our audiologist panels at this time.
Am I supposed to introduce myself now?
Yep, go ahead, Liz. You want to take that over?
Okay, sorry.
Go ahead.
Is Liz trying to talk? She's muted.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, sorry about that.
Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to our panelists and to our attendees. Our attendees are actually joining us from Michigan, Illinois, New York, and Texas. So it's a very wide audience. Thank you so much. I'd like to just briefly ask each of our panelists to introduce themselves, and we'll go alphabetically, starting with Alyssa Eminhizer.
All right. Hello, everyone. Alyssa Eminhizer. I'm an audiologist in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I work at the university here, so I spend part of my time seeing patients in the clinic, mostly working with adults and hearing aids, and then the rest of the time teaching. So I'm teaching the hearing aids course, I teach intro to audiology, and I teach the clinical practicum courses. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you for being here. Next up, we'll go to Terry McIlvaine.
Hi, I'm Terry McIlvaine, and I'm an audiologist in St. Joseph, Michigan. I work with Dr. Kasewurm at Professional Hearing Services, and we test adults, see adults, very few children in the office, but we see patients who have hearing needs, hearing aid needs, some vestibular needs, as well as we do work a little bit with some patients with cochlear implants as far as the hearing aid on the opposite ear. But I have a great little office down here, so welcome to come and visit us anytime.
Thank you, Terry. Well, I'm glad you're here. And next we'll move on to Heidi Schmeltzer, please.
All right, make sure I'm unmuted here. My name is Heidi Schmeltzer. So I am an audiologist and I work out of Niles and St. Joseph, Michigan. So I travel between two offices. I see patients anywhere from newborns who didn't pass their newborn hearing screenings. So I'll do follow up on those little ones up to whatever age comes in. And I'm happy to see all the ages. One of my specialties and passions is cochlear implants. So I see a lot of those in our clinic. And I'm very happy to be here tonight with everyone.
Welcome, Heidi. And finally, we'll move on to James Thornburg, please.
Hi, my name is James Thornburg. I'm an audiologist at the Ear, Nose, and Throat Center in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Work with patients of all ages and do a little bit of everything: diagnostic testing, hearing aids, cochlear implants, and BAHA or osseo integrated devices as well. So thanks for having me.
All right, thank you for being with us today. So don't forget to use the Q&A box. This is for the attendees. If you have a question, please do type it in. And we will start with the questions that have already been submitted. The first one is from an anonymous attendee that is asking, what is the latest development in regards to hearing aids? So whichever one of our panelists wants to jump in first, please do so, and then the others can supplement.
Well, I love hearing aids, so I'll jump in. There are a lot of things going on with hearing aids now. Everything from hearing aids that connect Bluetooth with your phones to being able to make all kinds of adjustments. They are better in background noise than they have been previous years. They do continue to improve that. There's some that even make music listening comfortable and enjoyable again. Everything from little tiny ones to great big hearing aids. Everything's available still, but there's just so many exciting things that they can do, and the way we can program them anymore. It's just really exciting. They're not like your grandfather used to wear at all. They're very, very different hearing aids today.
Thank you, Terry. Is there anyone else that would like to jump in?
I'll add, just kind of, it's sort of timely with the pandemic, is that there's a lot of hearing aids now that can be programmed and adjusted remotely. So you can actually kind of use your phone to have like a telehealth appointment with your audiologist, and they can make adjustments in real time for you. So I've had that be really useful for patients who maybe have, well, it's hard for them to get to us, or if they have a specific like complaint, something in their environment at home where they're not hearing quite the way they want to, or something's bothering them. I've had a patient actually kind of walking around their house with me on their phone and saying, and then I can make my adjustment and they can tell me right away if that sort of solved their problem or not. So it's just helps you make adjustments better than when you're just in, your kind of quiet audiology office. So that's kind of another one.
Well, I think that's really exciting, especially in this day and age.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing that, Alyssa. Anyone else? Either Heidi or James?
I'll jump in here. So one awesome thing about hearing aids now is there are other accessories that can be added to supplement. So different devices that can be connected to phones, or a lot of hearing aids actually stream directly to cell phones now. But also so people can have it connected to a TV or a computer to just stream better. It's especially great with a lot of people going virtual for either work or classrooms, just to have that little extra boost for sound, to tune out a little bit more of that background noise and get the best signal for what they need. Also, for anyone who has ringing in the ears as well, lots of features that we can activate to really help give the ear something else to tune into other than that ringing noise.
Thanks, Heidi. James, do you have anything that you would like to add?
I don't have too much to add.
Okay.
There's been some improved hearing aids. Technology has improved a bit in terms of hearing aids that link to cochlear implants. They were had been a little bit previous. They had to be a few previous generations behind, and it's starting to get a little bit better in terms of getting some of that newer technology to link to the implant. So that's been something that's been kind of exciting to see come along here.
Wonderful, thank you.
Add a little more about, just if we're going to talk about how great hearing aids are for a minute, but something else that I don't think's been mentioned yet is a lot of hearing aids are rechargeable now. So no more fumbling around with tiny batteries. You just plug them in at night like you do a phone, and you don't have to mess with that. So people have really liked that as well. And then I think coming down the pipe, or it sort of exists now too, is kind of a healthable type hearing aid. It's a hearing aid, but it's also monitoring things like steps that you're taking. It's kind of like combining like a Fitbit with a hearing aid. And I think we're going to see more of that, and just that being integrated.
I think especially people who maybe have manual dexterity issues would certainly benefit from the rechargeable aid as well. Okay. Anyone else want to add anything before we continue on to the next question? Okay. So someone has written that I have bilateral cochlear implants. What is the best online auditory website for self-therapy?
I would start off by just saying pretty much any self-therapy or auditory rehab is going to be great. You know, the more the better. Most of the major implant companies like Cochlear, Med-El, and Advanced Bionics have some resources on their website. We work with Advanced Bionics Sound Success program quite a lot, both with our implant patients and then sometimes even recommending it to hearing aid patients just to help maximize their potential. So I think there's a lot out there, and just being motivated to find it and complete it and be very persistent with it is a really great thing to do to help get everything out of it that you possibly can.
Thank you. Anyone else? Then we will move on.
Oh, I'll jump in here.
Okay, go ahead.
So one thing that I do know that people have some success with is there is a program called Angel Sounds that was developed a little while ago. A family actually made the software available for free. If you actually search Angel Sounds, it is available for download. It has different levels of auditory retraining, even some different modules within it to help with listening to music again, with hearing loss, with a hearing aid, with a cochlear implant. So that is also available as something that is free online.
Alrighty. Thank you. Our next question has to do with children and the testing process. Since little kids can't raise their hand like when you do the testing, how do you know when they hear a sound?
I'll jump in on that one since I love pediatrics. So depending on the age, especially for those young kids, once they're able to somewhat sit independently and have some head turn ability, we're able to actually test them in the booth, but we actually use a speaker system. And typically we have some type of toy that will light up or move, have some type of action with it. And it's really great to be able to see how the child responds. The audiologist will be sitting and watching their responses. For some kids, they think it's the greatest thing in the world. The sound will play out of the speaker and they'll look over to see what it was. And then after a little while, we'll turn the sound softer and softer to see what's the softest response. For some kids, they're a little bit more stubborn than others. So we might not get a nice, big, beautiful head turn, but we'll get a little bit of a giggle. They'll crack a smile. But a lot of it's really watching their behavior and working with what they're able to do. For little ones who are younger and aren't able to turn their heads on their own and aren't just quite developmentally there yet, we can actually do testing called auditory brainstem response testing, where we put little electrodes on them, play sounds through their ears, through earphones, and we're actually able to see how their brain responds to sound, to see how soft we get a response there. So that's a great option if they're too little to be sitting and head turning on their own.
Thank you. It's a very interesting question. Okay, we're going to move on. The next question is there any positive development in regards to insurances in Michigan being required to cover hearing aids, just like in some other states? Okay, flurry of hands.
There are a few insurances that cover hearing aids. Mostly it's the from a specific employers, but there really isn't anything going on that's moving towards insurance being required to cover hearing aids at this point. They talk about it a lot at the national level, even as for Medicare to even cover something. But as long as Medicare does not cover hearing aids, I don't think we're going to see insurances covering them. And that has been going on for years. They've been talking about how they should, and it just doesn't happen. It doesn't move. I swear there's something before Congress every year that they should include hearing aids with Medicare, and it doesn't go anywhere. So I just don't see it happening. If you're fortunate to have worked with a company that provides care coverage for hearing aids, you're very fortunate, because there really are not very many. And it is something that a lot of companies are taking away as a benefit, as a cost-saving measure. And so that has been very difficult for a lot of people. But I just don't see it. I just don't see it changing. I'm sorry to say.
I just want to put a little blurb out for a service that's available for people who are working, who don't have insurance coverage. It's Michigan Rehab Services. So some people don't know about it, but it's through the state, and they have some funding that I believe I don't know exactly any income requirements, but I've had them help a pretty wide range of patients, as long as you're working or you're a student. And basically you work with a counselor through MRS, and then with your audiologist sends recommendations to your counselor, and then the counselor will basically work with you to determine how much Michigan Rehab will pay and what your out-of-pocket would be. So yeah, we've been working a lot with them lately. So that's a really good option for people that people might not be aware of.
We also work with Michigan Rehab quite often, and sometimes they're really fast and quick and really easy. Other times it takes a little bit longer. I have seen them cover 100% of hearing aids. I've seen them have people pay several $100s out of pocket, but several $100s is a lot less than several $1,000s. And they provide really good hearing aids, really great hearing aids. And so the difficulty with it is, and I've never seen them have a financial limitation based on a person's income, but you do have to be able to need to wear hearing aids for your job. And so if you work in manufacturing where you're wearing hearing protection all day, you may not, it's a lot more difficult to qualify because you don't need it to perform your job. And they're looking to make sure that you are able to hear and understand in order to perform your job well, is what they're looking for. So to help with that. So.
Anybody else? Well, before moving on to the next question, I just wanted to add that there are some service organizations like local Lions and Kiwanis clubs that can provide some financial assistance for people seeking hearing aids, but that's a hit and miss situation. It's not consistent. And also, I believe that some insurances allow people to purchase a special rider to cover hearing aids if they are not already covered. So that might be an option for people who are looking for some sort of financial help, but it is quite disappointing. I agree with you all about the government not providing that through a legislative solution. Okay, we'll move on to the next question. Are you seeing more patients now that people are wearing masks? I feel like with everyone wearing masks, it would be harder for those in denial to ignore that they may have a need for hearing assistance. Anybody?
I think, you can go ahead, Alyssa. Okay. I was just going to say, I think it's just added a layer of difficulty really for all, with any degree of hearing loss, even those who already have identified hearing loss and are wearing hearing aids, taking away all that visual information and those speech reading and lip reading sort of cues is just very, very difficult, which is why the clear face masks and things like that have come out have been significantly beneficial. But I do think it's probably led some more people to realize how much they were relying on those sort of things. And not that that's a bad thing at all. I think it's an excellent thing to remind people of good communication habits as much as we can, but it definitely adds another hurdle and another kind of degree of difficulty to the situation.
Alyssa, did you want to add something?
I agree. It's true. I don't know that I'm seeing like more patients, maybe a few who might not have come in otherwise, but just my current patients, a lot of people coming in and needing an adjustment, needing a little bit of a boost, right? Because the mask is muffling it and it takes away the speech reading. But what I definitely have seen, and I don't know if the others have seen this, is more people losing their hearing aids. So just a little PSA to be really careful when you're taking your masks off, because I've definitely seen the rate of lost hearing aids go up for sure. So just something to be aware of.
I have done that.
Yeah.
I've done that.
One thing to add before we move on, I don't know if there's an official name for it, but I know there are these little straps that kind of sit behind your head that have like little arms on them almost. And you can attach the hooks of your mask to these little straps to get them off of your ears, so that every time you remove your mask, it's not pulling the hearing aids with it. So we've got some of those to give out at the office, and people are really loving them because it's just one less thing to one less piece of shared real estate up on top of your ear there.
Yes, there's very little real estate on our ears, especially if we're wearing glasses. Terry, go ahead.
One of the things that I definitely can tell you that in the last year, more people have lost hearing aids than in probably the previous 5 years combined because of that. We've actually had a couple of some of the patients who crochet some little things and bring in for us to give out to people. Little buttons, you clip them on buttons instead of your ears. But I definitely see an increase in the number of new patients because of being at home. And then when they're out, they're not, it's almost like they're, when you worked all day and you were gone and you came home in the evening, it wasn't quite as obvious to your spouse sometimes how much you weren't hearing them or how often you were having to ask them to repeat. And so I do see a lot of spouses bringing their significant other in to have it checked because they're concerned about it. And it has been definitely, some of them definitely do need hearing aids. Some of them, we just need to talk a little bit about, good communication at home, because it's, I've always thought that communication at home is probably one of the areas where all of us are least adept at. I mean, My husband has a hearing loss and wears hearing aids, and I talk to him from another room all the time, and he can't hear me. Oh, surprise. I know that. I tell people that all the time, but I do it at home anyway, because that's where we're comfortable, and we kind of just talk without thinking about what we want to say or the communication with it. So definitely seen an increase in that. So
Interesting point. Very good. So we will move on to the next question. How do you handle billing for the tele-audiology? Is the cost the same as performing adjustments in your office?
I guess I'll start that since I mentioned that. For us, we operate under like a bundled service model. So for patients who purchase hearing aids through us, which is really the patients we're doing the remote adjustments for, because you have to have the hearing aids, at least with the company that we work with, which is mostly Phonak. The hearing aids have to have been in your office connected to your computer at some point. So I can't have a patient who's never been in, calling me and asking me to remote adjust them, right? Plus I don't have their hearing test and a lot of other reasons, but so we have a bundled billing. So when you buy a hearing aid from us, you get 3 years worth of services included. And so we don't bill individually for programming appointments, and we don't bill individually for tele-programming visits either, at least where I work at Western.
Would anyone else like to chime in on that?
We actually do a fair amount of telehealth adjustments. We've never billed anybody for it. It's not been something we, were really prepared to do when this all started. And so, we also do a bundled service. So most patients, it's included, but even the patients who it normally would, if they came in, they would be charged for something because they've had them, the longer, 5-6 years or something. If they call in, we typically can make the adjustment, and we don't typically charge them. And I don't know if that will change, but we just don't.
So thank you for that. Heidi, did you want to jump in on that?
So, I think with a lot of this, it's a big learning curve because with COVID, we had a lot of changes very quickly. Going to, do we see people in the office? Do we go all to tele-audiology? Where do we go from here? So I think the biggest thing is that, as audiologists, we're always trying to do what's best for our patients to keep them safe, to keep them, keep them hearing well, even if they can't get out or we can't have them come in at this point. So it makes it tricky trying to determine what to do when it's sprung on you. But I think similar to what Terry and Alyssa have said, with that bundled service, the adjustments are included in that plan anyhow. So we're taking it the same way as, whether you're seeing me in person or whether you're seeing me virtually.
Okay, that was a good question. Interesting times that we live in. James, do you have anything else that you would like to add?
I do not. We don't currently offer that at our office, unfortunately, but it's being looked into. So hopefully one of these days pretty soon.
Okay, so a wide range of options. The next question is for all of you. Thank you for your time. I have a question in regards to the current pandemic. Are you able to program hearing aids remotely? And I think that's been answered, but does anyone have anything else to add?
Well, the only thing I would add with that is I've actually started doing a number of just rechecks with people who normally they would come in, they bought new hearing aids, they would come in, maybe a month or two later to check things up, and doing those virtually. And if they need to come in, I will have them come in, but doing a Zoom type call just to check in, make sure they're doing okay, see if they need an appointment, rather than just scheduling them to come in when they may not need it. So we've been doing a lot more of those as well.
Yeah, we've been doing that also. I've noticed too. I'm not scheduling as many just like routine follow-ups. It's more, if you need me, I'm here. And we've also, at the beginning of the pandemic, we were really shut down because we are under Western's umbrella. So we have to follow what the university says. So we were like not allowed in the building. So we were doing curbside appointments at the beginning appointments. So not for, you're limited what you can do curbside, but cleanings, like clean and checks, changing parts. And I think our patients have really liked that. And I think I'm going to be doing curbside probably forever now. And I don't mind it, but yeah, it's things where we're kind of triaging on the phone. If it's something where it sounds like it's a wax trap or a receiver that I can change, I'll bring my supplies down to the car and do it. So yeah, just another kind of pandemic related change.
One other thing that I will add when it comes to hearing aids and any type of remote checks, talk to your audiologist. Not all hearing aids have that capability. They might be older technology. They might be a manufacturer who hasn't quite caught up with that trend, but ask your audiologist. They will know what is available.
Okay, thank you. This is kind of a follow-up to the same issue of remote adjustments. Someone would like to know which manufacturers provide the service with their instrument.
Well, I work with a number of different manufacturers. I know Starkey and Resound have very good programs. I don't do as much with Phonak. I believe they have one, theirs do as well. And so those three I know have really good programs where you can do the virtual and the remote programming. I'm not sure about Oticon. I haven't really looked at them for a little lately. So I would assume they do. Knowing everything I know about the company, I would assume they would, but that I couldn't tell you for sure. Okay.
Anyone else want to supplement that?
No, I do believe that Oticon has that as well. Yeah. And I know for sure Phonak, Phonak Resound definitely do.
Right. So I think we can move on. Someone would like to know whether T-coils are here to stay. We are seeing quite a few people are being fitted with Bluetooth tech, but not the T-coils.
T-coils, a lot of people, if they have the cell phone, they're going to use the Bluetooth tech to connect to their cell phone. A T-coil doesn't usually work as well with a cell phone. Unfortunately, in our area, there's not that many places looped. So it's not like, I think in Grand Rapids, you have more things looped up there in that area, different areas. And so a lot of the churches are looped. And so it depends upon, a lot of times we ask the person where they go to church before, we start looking into the loop. Most of the hearing aids, if they're rechargeable, we can have them with a T-coil in them with the behind the ear style. And you can still put a T-coil in most of the hearing aids. It's usually just a size limitation to the style of hearing aid you're wearing. I wouldn't say they're completely being replaced though, because there are a lot of people still use, because you can use both if you have it. It's just that the manufacturers don't necessarily make it compatible to do both of them at the same time. So a lot of it has to do with asking questions and letting your audiologist know, I want a T-coil. If you tell me I want a T-coil, then we definitely make sure that that's included in there. And if I order a hearing aid and this hasn't been discussed, if it's available, I always put it in. It's better to have it in and not use it than it is to not have it in there. So.
Would somebody, okay, James, from Grand Rapids with the wonderful looping program that they have, perhaps you can, for attendees who may not be familiar with T-coils and loops, maybe just briefly review about that technology.
Yeah, I'll give it a shot here, and anyone else feel free to jump in if I'm omitting anything. But the T-coil is an electromagnetic system that's physically built into hearing aids and then physically built into specific environments. So like we said, churches, performance centers, anywhere where there's usually going to be large gatherings of people and a presenter or performer delivering some information. So it's a physical wire that's built into those locations. And then when you're in the proximity of that wire, you can activate that function in your hearing aid, and it takes the presenter or performer's voice and essentially streams it directly into your hearing aid. So it overcomes a lot of the challenging situations that many people find in those larger type of environments, like distance, background noise, reverberation, and it just delivers a very clean, direct signal into the hearing aids, just to maximize your potential to understand that speech that's occurring.
And T-coils are also available on cochlear implants, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. Yep.
Yeah. Is there anyone else that would like to add anything about that?
Well, I just practice the way that what Terry said basically is, a lot of times I just get it, because otherwise I find if I don't order the T-coil, at some point there's a reason why I wish I did. So I sort of default to get it. I found sometimes a T-coil can also connect you to like more personal amplification or like assistive device technology. And sometimes it's a cheaper way to access some of those, like a remote microphone technology. If you have a T-coil in your hearing aids, you might have more options as far as how you can connect your hearing aids to that mic, or you might be able to purchase something that's less expensive than one of like the direct, like 2.4 gigahertz type microphones. So yeah, I mean, it's always probably a good idea to have one, especially if you're wearing a behind the ear style anyway, where you have space for it.
Good point. Go ahead, Heidi.
So I think with that too, a lot of the times I'll ask people if they travel as well. If someone is going to be traveling, different places actually have loop systems in theaters, in airports is another big area. So that way you can hear when your flight is being called. I've also heard about some taxi services actually looping their taxi cabs. So that way, if you are in the taxi, you can still hear the driver without them having to try to turn around and risk driving dangerously to have their voice project to you. So there's a lot of advantages to it, and similar to what everyone else is saying, I always have it as I will put it in, that's always in my orders unless size constraints run into being an issue for me. But then I'll let people know that you can have a small device, but you're going to be missing some of these features that we just don't have room for.
Alrighty, thank you.
Just one last thing to throw in here. When you're traveling or in a performance location, there'll often be a diagram of an ear with the T in it to let you know that location is looped and kind of ready for you to access that information.
Very good reminder about that. Yes, there's no point having a place being accessible if you don't let people know that the accommodation exists. Thank you, James. We have another question. It's a little bit longer, so bear with me. I received a new hearing aid in late 2019 made by Oticon. It is very powerful, and I find I hear more sounds more crisply compared to my old one, and I'm very happy with it. I have a very profound hearing loss. I understand that Phonak is coming out with a new, very powerful hearing aid this year. I just wonder if that would be an improvement over my Oticon. It's a bit of a tough one. Okay,
Yeah.
let's
I would say,
tackle it.
I don't know that I'm going to tackle it, because I'm not sure really we can speak that well to this without really knowing exactly your hearing loss, exactly what. I don't want to give anyone any like specific advice. My initial thought is you sound really happy with it, and it's only a year old. So I don't and I don't know the specifics, like what the output of your current hearing aid is and things like that, but I would talk to your audiologist about it. I don't know that my gut reaction is like, oh yes, absolutely, you should get a new hearing aid. And I work with Phonak, so it's not I'm not bashing any of the companies, but typically that's a pretty new hearing aid still that you've got. And I don't know that a new one year, a little over a year later, is going to be earth shattering, but I would ask your audiologist about it.
One of the things that I know is that those power hearing aids, whatever company it's from, they're all powerful, they're all good. You'll get a good sound. As long as they're programmed correctly, you won't have an issue with them. And quite honestly, what I find is some of the things the new hearing aids are coming out with are not things that are going to benefit a really profound hearing loss. You know, they're just not as beneficial because you're used to power, you're used to hearing it, you want to hear it, you don't want it, you know, cutting down noise and keeping things quiet. You want to be able to hear with it. And so I find that for power aids, it usually is several generations later, you know, 4 or 5 years often, sometimes longer, before there really is a big enough change that people will notice a difference in sound clarity. So I don't typically recommend people with a profound hearing loss I find they need to change hearing aids far less than most other people do. So
That's a good point. Go ahead, James.
I was just to say, one thing to keep in mind is it's not always your success with the hearing aid isn't always a power output sort of thing. Thinking about speech clarity and your word recognition score, so some of the speech testing that's done when you have your hearing tested, that's often more of a factor in terms of being able to you know, really get as much as you can out of the hearing aids, rather than it always being, oh, my hearing aid's not powerful enough. And that speech recognition, or kind of thought of as a speech clarity score, can often be almost a limiting factor in a sense in what the hearing aid is able to do. So just to keep in mind that more power doesn't always equal greater success.
Good point. We will continue on. This is next question. This is a CI question. I am a user of the advanced bionic Clear Voice. Is it possible that Clear Voice can make a user become where the patient cannot process the spoken voices in noise because of the Clear Voice running all the time? The reason I am asking is because I was just tested in the booth and my AZBIO score was very low, and in quiet it was 95% or better.
I have no experience with that, so I'm going to pass that one off.
That's not an issue that I've ran into before, and I know the original theory of Clear Voice was to maximize speech performance, particularly in those more difficult listening situations. So not that I've heard of, I guess, to answer that question bluntly. And just to kind of keep in mind, almost everyone scores on the AZBIO, which is some kind of automated sentence testing that we use for cochlear implant candidacy and performance evaluation. When you add in that background noise, almost everyone's performance is going to decline, and often quite significantly. So I don't know that it would necessarily be to that processing strategy from advanced bionics as much as just the physical difficulty when you add in that background noise.
Thank you.
I'll also jump in and I'll add that anytime we add in background noise, it is going to be a challenging environment. And I know from my end of things, I am seeing a lot of my patients coming in recently and saying they feel like they're struggling more when they have gotten back into situations with background noise, just because for so long, a year now at this point, basically, everyone has been much more quiet situations at home, not in restaurants, not out at parties, not in group settings. So when you're out of that environment and get tossed back into it, it can take the brain a little bit of time to readjust. So that could be a little bit of it. I can't really speak to what Clear Voice does, as I don't work with advanced bionics, but I just know that there are other people saying they're having newer increased difficulty and noise just because they haven't been around it for a while.
That's a good point. Thank you. We'll move on to the next question, which is, in regards to cochlear audio rehabilitation, how long do you recommend to practice? And how long would one see further progress and learning success usually? James, you want to tackle that one?
I would just say, so let's see, how long do we recommend you practice? As much as you can. And I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but especially for people who are new to the implant, if you can practice at least an hour a day to set aside and really, dive in and really jump in with both feet to push yourself, that's really going to be as best you can. And when we're doing that auditory rehab with the implant, one thing that we typically do at the beginning is have the patient, if they wear a hearing aid on the other side, take that hearing aid out and force yourself to get adapted to listening through that implant only, and pairing that new auditory information with what you're listening to or what's being read aloud as you follow along, almost thinking like you're having to retrain yourself what these words mean and what they're going to sound like coming through the implant, as opposed to your hearing aid or normal hearing, more acoustic system. Okay, how does this sound electronically through the implant? Now I've got to teach myself what these different words and sounds mean.
Go ahead, Heidi.
One thing that I always liken learning to hear from a cochlear implant to is learning a new language. So initially, when you're learning a new language, you can hear someone speaking that language, but at first, it's not going to sound like anything you can make sense of. Right now, if someone dropped me off in France, I would recognize hello and goodbye, but that's probably about it. But the more time I spent there, the more time I was immersed into hearing that language, that's where I would start to recognize more things. Similar with a cochlear implant, at first, you can tell there's some sound coming in, but it's not going to have that meaningful meaning to it. But the more people wear it, the more they let their ear and brain adjust to that new form of stimulation, the more it's going to make sense. And just like learning the language is a lifelong thing, everyone is constantly learning new words, even up to the end of their life. Same with hearing and with a cochlear implant, it's not an overnight process. It is a lifelong learning process. And a lot of people say the first year is usually the hardest, just because it's getting used to something new. But after that, they still continue to make strides. The more they wear it, the more they dedicate to practicing as well. And I usually tell my patients at very, very minimum, at least 15 to 30 minutes a day in the beginning when they're practicing. I encourage more, but I realize that's not always feasible for some people.
It's a very good point to remember that our brains develop at different rates for every individual. So it's hard to prescribe a time, and to be patient with ourselves as we progress. Okay, next question. When I do sports, my hearing aids sometimes cut out. What can I do to prevent this?
Usually they're cutting out because of moisture. So there's a couple different things you can do. Sometimes they just have so much moisture just building up because you're doing sports all the time. And so some kind of a drying kit to, try to keep the moisture out of it. There's some things you can purchase over the counter, at least in the audiology offices, like little sweatbands you can put on your hearing aids that will help keep that off. I actually had a patient the other day that told me he takes a little bit of antiperspirant, runs it right along the line of his hair because it takes it away from the hearing aid. And so, unfortunately, hearing aids are not waterproof. And so if you get enough moisture from sweating or even just the humidity sometimes in the summer, you're going to get some of that crackling. Once it dries, the crackle goes away, you're fine again. If you get a lot of moisture into the battery compartment, you're going to have an issue with it as well. So a lot of it is just if you need to wear it while you're doing the sport for safety purposes and to be able to hear what's going on and all that, just to be aware that, it's a moisture issue, and either those kind of sport locks, a headband around your head to pick up some of that moisture before it gets to your hearing aids, things like that can help with that.
Thank you. I haven't heard the antiperspirant solution before. Go ahead, Heidi. Did you want to add something?
So one of the things for anyone doing sports, I always direct people towards, they're called ear gears, and they're basically a little fabric device that does wick away that moisture that you can slide around the hearing aid. So that way, as you're perspiring and it is running down, if you don't use antiperspirant, then that's a great way to just keep the hearing aid a little bit more protected from that moisture. And I believe people even sell things like that through Amazon. I think I've even seen things like that on Etsy even. So that's a great resource.
And sometimes I think it's, especially if you're wearing behind the ear hearing aids with an ear mold, the tubing can gather that condensation. And if you're prone to that, you may want, someone may want to invest in a tube blower to disconnect the hearing aid and get the moisture out of the tubing and ready to go again. Anybody else? Okay, we've got lots of questions coming up, so I'm going to go to the next one. Do latest hearing aids connect to computers directly? This would be great to have conferences just like this go directly into the ear.
Yes, some of them that have, depending on the exact Bluetooth type of Bluetooth that they use, but I know for sure like the newest Phonak hearing aids can connect to most devices that have Bluetooth. So we have 2 AUD students that have hearing loss and wear hearing aids in our program right now, and all their classes are virtual. So they're wearing hearing aids where they can connect through Bluetooth to their computers. I've got a patient who uses his to connect to, I'm not even sure what this is, which is maybe bad, like a ham radio. I should know what that is, but he uses Bluetooth to connect to his ham radio. So there's, lots of different things the newer ones can connect to, which is really awesome. There's also options if you have older hearing aids, there might be a way for you to connect to your computer anyway. So like with the older Phonaks, you could do it, but you had to wear a thing around your neck, and then you would have to have cabled it into like the headphone jack of your computer. But so you might ask your audiologist, even if you don't have the newest hearing aid, there might be an accessory that could help you connect to your computer.
Yeah, there were a number of accessories that could pair to your hearing aid, and then you would just plug it in and not have to have wires from there. It plugs into like the jack for listening through headphones, but it would stream it then. So there are a number of accessories available for things like that.
Go ahead,
And those type of accessories, they are also available for a lot of the cochlear implant manufacturers. And some of them can actually stream. So depending on if the person has a cochlear implant in one ear and a hearing aid in the other, the devices can sometimes stream to both, so you can get that binaural sound.
Thank you. We'll go to the next one. And the question is, do all of the major hearing aid manufacturers offer a mask program to help compensate for the sound degradation from wearing a mask?
I don't know about all of them because I only work with, 3 of them, but most of them do offer something. If nothing else, I believe most of them have, if you ask or if I ask, they have sent the information on how they are figuring their mask program so that we can actually put it into a hearing aid that doesn't have the capability of having the new mask mode. Some people really like the mask mode. Other people don't find it helpful at all. It just gives a little extra boost in those high frequencies for speech to make speech come through a little clearer through the mask. So, but I think even if there's not an actual program for it, one can be made to program.
Okay, we'll move on to the next question. Kind of going back to the same question we've had, issue we've discussed before, but I'll read the question anyway. Can all hearing aids be remotely programmed or only certain models? What is required on my side?
It depends upon the hearing aid manufacturer on your side. Most of them have to have something turned on in the software to access that. I know Starkey hearing aids, even some of their older ones, had some remote programming that was done just through the telephone. You didn't have to have anything special, didn't have to turn on anything. It just recognized certain keytones from the phone that we could make adjustments for. The newer ones, of course, have them more direct and we can live stream it and do it and those things. But really, it's going to depend on your manufacturer. If usually there isn't anything really required from you other than either sending the request in for a remote programming adjustment. And that, again, is dependent upon the manufacturer, how that's done. But most of them, through their app, you can request an adjustment. So at least the newer ones.
Thank you. We will move on to the next one. And the question is, those of you deal mostly with hearing aid recipients, but do you work with cochlear implantees too? So if you could just review which one of you work with both populations. We'll start with Alyssa.
So my practice works with both, but I specialize in hearing aids, and the other person who works with me is now specializing in cochlear implants. So sometimes we share patients, like if we do have a bimodal user, or sometimes my patients will become her patients, if they're not receiving enough benefit from their hearing aids, then I kind of move them onto her.
Okay, Terry.
I really strictly fit hearing aids. Some patients do have cochlear implants, so I am doing the other ear for the bimodal amplification, but I do not adjust or work specifically with cochlear implants. I send them to Heidi.
Okay, so go ahead, Heidi.
So she answered the question for me. I do work with hearing aids and with cochlear implants. And kind of like Alyssa touched on a little bit, a lot of times patients will start off as hearing aid candidates, and just over time hearing changes, they don't receive the benefit just because of those changes to hearing. And that's where we can make that transition from hearing aids to considering a cochlear implant and ultimately to a cochlear implant.
Okay, and James, if you'll review.
Yeah, I work with both devices.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Rechargeable hearing aids, how long will they last?
So is the question, how long will the hearing aids last with the rechargeable battery, or how long will the rechargeable battery hold a charge?
I believe it's the latter.
Okay. Most of them hold a charge of about 24 hours. Some a little longer, some slightly shorter, but a lot of it depends upon if you're streaming as well. So if you're streaming and you stream a lot, you do not get as much life out of a rechargeable battery. And so for somebody who does a lot of streaming, listens to podcasts all day or listens to, has meetings 8 hours a day on it and listening, I would recommend a battery over rechargeable to make sure you're getting your whole day before you have to put it back in the charger. But most of them will last a full day. The estimate from the manufacturers typically is that the rechargeable battery in the hearing aid will last 5 to 6 years. So, and be able to be recharged for that long.
Okay, I see something new by the question in my Q&A box, and it says Denise Adams would like to answer this question live. So do what you got to do, Denise.
Nope, I'm not sure why that came up.
Oh,
Keep going.
okay. Love technology. Thank you for your patience, everybody. What is the best captioning app to use? For instance, if taking calls or training with a laptop via a laptop speaker, what is the best iPhone app for closed captioning and for closed captioning the laptop speech?
That is a tough question.
Mhm.
I would say, I don't know that much about like the specific apps. I'm wondering if Gerid is still on this call and if Gerid's got any answers for that. We've struggled as far as just captioning in general, just with moving to virtual education, even in a university setting. Like not all of the video call things allow for live captioning or do it well. I know Phonak has a captioning app. I forget what they call it. I could look it up really quick, but I don't know. Is Gerid in here? When Gerid, he might know. Does Caption Call have a app?
I think the questions that we cannot answer live, we will catch up with the questioner later to supplement that information.
I do know that Caption Call does work with iPads, so I would think it should be able to be downloaded on there. But that's for phone calls, so I guess Gerid really is the person that answers that.
Yeah, if my patient asked me that, I would call Gerid, so use him. The Phonak app is called My Call to Text, by the way. So it is like a phone call one as well, though. So I'm not sure if that's answering this question that specifically.
Okay, I see Gerid.
I had to promote myself. I think the question is they're trying to do some kind of voice recognition with the iPhone, and Ava makes a good app that you can run on your iPhone. It's AVA. The Caption Call app is geared towards making telephone calls, if that's your question. But I think the question was more of being able to maybe hold a cell phone up to a meeting that they're having on their laptop, and Ava will caption that meeting out loud for them.
Thanks, Gerid. Really appreciate you jumping in.
You're welcome.
I have a T-Coil follow-up question. Are hearing aids able to self-detect loops and switch into T-Coil mode, or is this always a manual process?
It is always a manual process as far as I know. I have never seen it be automatic. You have to choose to change it.
Okay. That's pretty straightforward. Thank you so much. Again, to those who work with hearing aid recipients, have you had to tell them that a cochlear implant would work better for them?
I actually just sent a referral over to Heidi's office I don't know if it was earlier this week or last week, of a young woman who's at the point where her hearing aid really doesn't no longer helps her. And so that was my recommendation to her, that it's time to at least start those discussions and see. So yes, we quite often, it comes a point with some people that you do have to have that discussion. And it's really nice we have somebody real close here that we can send them to. And so that makes it a lot easier. Originally, when I started working here in St. Joe, if we wanted to send somebody for a cochlear implant consult, they either had to go to Ann Arbor or to Chicago. And so a lot of people didn't, that's a lot of travel for some people. And so we do refer them out for that, since we don't work with cochlear implants directly here in our office.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember as a person's hearing loss changes, level of hearing changes, that different treatments are needed. And that's what happened to me. I was referred for a cochlear implant at a point in my life as well. So I think that answers that. Okay, next question. The ear mold on my new set of hearing aids will not stay in place while in my ear canal. It continues to work out of my ear canal, will not stay bottom next to my eardrum. The store personnel enlarged the ear mold diameter twice, then started over and made a new mold. It failed also. What else can be done to help my ear mold, please?
It's not necessarily your earlobe. One of the things that I've noticed this year is making a mold to fit somebody's ear has been a little more difficult. When you have a mask on and someone's taking the impression of your ear, it is very possible the mask is changing the shape of your ear enough that it's just not fitting well. But the only thing you really can do is to have a new impression taken without a mask on. Maybe have an impression taken with your mouth open to take care of any kind of movement. They can have it made. Maybe they need to make the mold just a little bit bigger so it has a little bit more to hold on to and stay. And so it really, unfortunately, sometimes is have it made again. If it's not fitting, you go back and you say, this does not fit right. I need it redone. And occasionally it takes more than once or twice to have it fit right. But when you purchased your hearing aid, that is included with that, and it needs to fit, because if it doesn't fit now when you just got your new hearing aid, it is not going to fit in a year or in 2 years, and you're going to have to buy another ear mold at least. But yeah, whoever you got it from should be remaking it for you.
And I would just say not to wait, because sometimes they have a short remake period, after which, if you come back 4 months later and say it's not fitting, you might pay for a new one. But if you go back right away, they should be able to remake it as many times as they need to within that period to get it right. And yeah, I totally agree with Terry. Don't stop until it fits right. Don't give up on it. There's a way you can make it fit in most ears. You just they'll have to get kind of creative with it.
And one of the things too that I found with that is and sometimes you do have to be creative, but in that 90 days, when that you have, say, 90 days to have it remade, if they make you a new one, you have a new 90 days, and you make another one, you have a new 90 days. So let's face it, they could make them and make them and make them until time is over, and you will eventually get a ear mold that fits you. They will get it. It's just sometimes it takes a little extra.
Okay, go ahead, Heidi.
One other thing too is there's multiple styles to ear molds. So sometimes there's the traditional one we think of that fills up the entire ear, where sometimes maybe it's just a different style where there's another little extra piece added onto it. Some people will call it a helix lock. Without seeing it, what ear we're talking about, it's hard to know, but there's, like has been said before, there's a lot of ways to really get creative to get that ear mold to be the proper fit. So don't give up on getting that correct fit.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. The next question, where we live, there are hearing aid companies which have TV ads which are not open or closed captioned, and one that is open captioned. Do any of your practices advertise on TV? And if so, do you open or close caption them?
I'm not sure what you mean by open caption. Is anybody familiar with that one?
I think closed captioning means when there is a black background to the captions, and open captioning means that all you see is the captions themselves.
Okay, because we do advertisements, and if you have your closed caption on your TV, it would be captioned, but we don't, to my knowledge, we don't caption it specifically in a certain way.
I can jump in. The difference is that open caption, everybody sees the captions regardless of whether you have closed captioning on or not. It's actually embedded in the video of the commercial or the picture, whereas closed caption is embedded in the background, and the only way to see closed captioning is to turn closed captioning on. So that's what they mean by the difference between open and closed.
Well, I wasn't familiar with it, but I will now make it a point to make sure that we add that. So thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Thanks, Gerid. How do audiologists work with ENT or with those providing auditory training to ensure my hearing capabilities are maximized? I'm wondering if the person who asked the question can maybe clarify exactly what they are asking. I don't know if anyone is going to tackle that.
I mean, if they can clarify, that would be good. I'm wondering though, if they just mean like if you have multiple people managing your care, maybe like if you have one person who's your medical ear doctor, then you have your audiologist programming your hearing aids, and then maybe a speech pathologist or someone doing auditory training. There are some centers that have all those people that work together. In my experience, I don't think the ENT is going to be really that involved with any of the auditory training, but those of you that work with ENTs, maybe I have the wrong impression, but I think you're mostly going to be working probably with an audiologist for your auditory training. And if it's a kid, maybe a speech pathologist.
I would agree with you there, Alyssa, that it's a lot of the audiologist and or including a speech pathologist, especially for those kids who are in the language acquisition period. But oftentimes for me, that's where I will talk the person through different exercises they can do at home, or some exercises that we'll actually do in the office to stimulate how they're hearing, figure out if there's something that we need to adjust with any of their devices. So some testing in a sound field to see, are they hearing all the frequencies like they should? Are they hearing the consonant sounds like they should? And adjusting from there.
Yeah, in our office, we always, verify at least yearly that the hearing aids actually function the way they're supposed to be functioning for you. There's a number of auditory training things as an adult that you can do online, on your phone. Honestly, here in Berrien County, a lot of the auditory training stuff is done through the hearing impaired program for kids, and so a lot of the kids are just seen routinely for that, through their school system. So, but I think most of that is either, again, the audiologist that you have recommending, some different things or some exercises for you to work with.
Okay, thank you. We're getting close to the end, so I'm not sure how many more of these questions we'll get in, but here comes the next one. I got my hearing aids just over a year ago. I have severe hearing loss in one ear and moderate in the other. I have always struggled to hear my entire life. In my hearing test, I still did well on understanding speech when the speech and words they were having me repeat was loud enough. Is this normal, especially if one ear isn't as bad as the other?
I think I understand the question. So when we're doing the speech testing, the word recognition testing, we are trying to present the words at a level that is loud enough for you to perform the absolute best that you can. That's kind of the purpose of the test. So I would say it is common. Well, I don't know if I'd use the word common. Everyone's ability differs, right? If we make the sounds loud enough for some people, that's enough and they can understand really well. And for some people who have just more distortion in their hearing loss, you can make things louder all day long and the speech might not get any clearer for them. And so some of that is just the limitations of a person's hearing loss. Some of it means maybe then we're all going to send them to go see Heidi or James maybe for a CI eval. But I don't know if I'd say it's common, but we are trying to get you to do well on that test. That test is testing how well can you understand speech if we make it loud enough for you. And so that's really the goal, is that you would do well. So I guess in that sense, it would be common. I don't know if that answers the question.
One of the other things would be is the level that's presented to each ear is different. So as we're testing that in each ear independently, the level is different. So the level for that ear where you hear poorer is much louder than the other ear usually. If we're testing it in a sound field with your hearing aids on, then the sound would be the same level to each hearing aid, but the hearing aids are set different based on the hearing loss. So ideally, when we're testing that, it should really be getting the best score we can get for you.
Okay. I'm sorry, Denise, did you want to take over?
Yep, I just wanted to chime in here and let everybody know that we are going to wrap it up with just one more question.
Okay, so the final question for tonight is, here we go. How do you feel about over-the-counter hearing aids, for or against?
Okay, I'm going to start with that one. It depends upon the hearing loss. I have some real concerns because everything that I have seen, they ask you basically the question is, how do you think you hear? There's no real hearing test involved in this. You just say, oh yeah, I have a little bit of hearing loss. And we know from testing people that people come in and say, yeah, I have a little bit of hearing loss, and they actually have a moderate to severe amount of hearing loss. And all the research that has been done lately on the effects of hearing loss with cognitive decline as people age, you do not want to mess around with it a whole lot. And so my biggest concern is that people aren't having a true hearing test. And then there's no verification of how do you hear with it, like you would do at the audiologist. And just because you buy it does not mean it really works for you. And you may hear a little bit differently, and think it's doing wonderful things, when in actuality, it is not giving you what you need to have. And that's my biggest concern. Some hearing losses it will work okay for, and some people will do okay with that. But without an audiologist actually checking your hearing and knowing what you need, or if you get something like that, go to an audiologist and have them verify how well you're hearing with it. My guess is probably not nearly as well as you think you should be, or as well as we would think you should be. But again, there are great limitations on that. So.
before we wrap it up, does anyone else have anything to add about
I think
over-the-counter hearing aids?
you can't end on that question. Everyone, we're all going to have a lot to say about it. I think it's a hot topic. So I'm surprised it took that long for someone to ask that, to be fair. I have a lot of thoughts about it too. I think I have share concerns that Terry shared as well. I also think I get frustrated because I almost feel like audiologists or hearing care professionals in general sort of put ourselves in a situation like this by over time focusing on the device as the solution to the problem rather than our expertise, which does include the device. I think that's part of the reason that it came about, is because that adds in, consumers' minds. They're like, oh, I'm paying $3,000 for this product, but you're really paying $3,000 for the expertise of the person that you're working with. And so a hearing aid, yes, there are different products and some might be somewhat better than others, but really hearing aids are all well-made, no, not all, rewind, most pretty well-made devices. And if they're in the hands of somebody who knows what they're doing, you can do well with it. So I think that's our fault. But I hope it's here whether we like it or not, right? So my hope, thinking positively about it, would be maybe that it would be like this might be a weird analogy, but like the gateway drug to hearing aids. So you start with an over-the-counter hearing aid and you're like, oh yeah, that helped a little bit, but maybe I could get helped more. And then eventually you would have your foot in that door to seek more help. But yeah, so I think I'm a bit conflicted, but it's here whether we like it or not. So.
Well, I've had a number of people come in that have bought some over-the-counter type things and or off the internet, and very, very, very rarely were they ever satisfied. And that's why they come in, because they did something already and it does not work the way they need it to work. And I'm afraid that's what's going to happen with people with over-the-counter products, is they'll get something and be able to then say to themselves, I tried hearing aids and they don't work. And the reality is true hearing aids fit by a professional work.
And another thing to add, when a person comes in to see the audiologist, we're not just looking at the hearing loss just on paper. We're looking at the people's ears. We're looking into their lifestyle to find out what device is going to fit them best, what's going to help them where they're needing that help. And for example, if someone comes in and has a hearing loss, but they hear really well when we amplify the sound, wonderful. Hearing aids, they're going to probably love them. But for that person who comes in and really struggles on those speech tests because their ears just don't process the sound the way they should, that's where we're going to be saying, well, maybe you should be considering the Cochlear implant as an option. And if someone just buys a device, puts it in their ear, not knowing whether they have wax in their ear, they have an ear infection, a hole in their eardrum, any number of things, they're not going to be satisfied with that. And they could have kind of bypassed that by seeing an audiologist, have us say, hey, here's what we think is going to be the best in our professional opinion, our expertise. That's what we do. That's what we do all day, and we love it. And we're happy to help people.
Okay, just to clarify that there are the products that are currently available on the internet and through magazines and ads are not the over-the-counter hearing aids. Okay, over-the-counter hearing aids, that category is not available for sale at this point. These are other devices. So, okay, Denise, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, everybody, so much. Great questions and great feedback. We really appreciate you guys coming here, and happy St. Patrick's Day. We may not have had green beer, but we did definitely have some great questions answered. So I just wanted to thank everybody. Chat is open now, so if anybody wants to go ahead and chat in there, you can go ahead. We'll leave it open for a little bit of discussion. But we only asked the audiologist to be on until 8, so we're going to close the meeting at this time. Just a few reminders that we do have. I'm going to just share my screen here. Just remember that we do have our Facebook page and our website. Reminders that the walk for hearing is June 13th. And then the Michigan State is looking to fill one of the Board of Trustees spot.
And the application for the Board of Trustees spot is on the Michigan website.
Exactly, Liz. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you very much.
Such good
I
questions.
apologize. The way that we have our Zoom, it is not able to do open chat. So I apologize for that, everybody.
Okay, we're good. Thank you.
So thank you, everybody, for coming, and you have a great day.
Absolutely, everyone. Bye-bye now.
Bye. Thank you.